Good evening, this is BelGeode and we are back with some more X-Plane 11. Howdy folks, and we are back with some more X-Plane 11. This is 11.20. We are in the VR3 version. We're expecting the update to VR4 to pretty much come any day now, but as of this recording, it is not yet here. But I wanted to do this recording today because I wanted to show off a couple of really neat things. The first, of course, is this aircraft that we're sitting in. You may notice this is a Beechcraft T-34 Charlie Mentor. This is a training aircraft. I'm not sure if it's still being used as a trainer. I think it may have been superseded by more newer models. However, it's definitely a classic as far as anyone learning to fly for the Navy and Marine Corps, and quite possibly the Air Force as well. I don't know how much they really utilize this aircraft also. But part of the reason why I'm showing you this aircraft is I want to point out that even though it's gaining in popularity, there's a little bit of a gotcha with it. I'll explain. This aircraft was originally designed for X-Plane 9, and it was updated for X-Plane 10. As of yet, the developer has not made it updated to X-Plane 11, and it is payware. You do have to pay for this. However, there is a way that you can get this aircraft into X-Plane 11 just like I have it right now. And I'm going to outline those steps for you. It's relatively easy to do, but pay attention just in case you have to refer back to this video. So the first thing you're going to want to do, once you've purchased this aircraft and downloaded it, you're also going to want to go to xplane.com. Now notice I said .com and not .org. There's a big difference. The .com site is the official Laminar Research X-Plane site. So on that xplane.com, you're going to be looking for the demo for X-Plane 10. You're going to download that demo. It's free of charge, of course, and the whole reason why you're doing that is you want to get to PlaneMaker. PlaneMaker is the program that allows you to tweak, edit, or even make completely new aircraft for X-Plane. Open up this aircraft in X-Plane 10, which means you'll have to unzip the aircraft into the X-Plane 10 aircraft folder so you have access to it for PlaneMaker. But all you have to do is open up the aircraft in PlaneMaker 10 and then immediately save the aircraft. Now once you've done that, the next thing you will want to do is take that very same aircraft folder that you just transferred over to X-Plane 10, copy that or cut that and put that in X-Plane 11. Now once you're inside X-Plane 11, there's also PlaneMaker for X-Plane 11. All you have to do is repeat the process. You open up this aircraft in X-Plane 11's PlaneMaker, and then you immediately save it. That's it. Once you've done that, you'll be ready to fly. You will notice when you initially load up this aircraft, there will not be any thumbnails like there are with all of your usual X-Plane 11 aircraft. Those are easy enough to generate. You pretty much put yourself back in the aircraft, go to the outside view just like you saw when I started this video, and select the aircraft selection screen and go generate icons on this aircraft. It'll cycle through all the various liveries, which are very similar to this, except they have different colored wings. Like this one is the green one because green is one of my favorite colors, but there's also red and yellow and so on and so forth. But it'll cycle through and it'll make thumbnails for this aircraft. So then you're pretty much good to go. But the other reason why I'm using this aircraft is, surprisingly enough, it works rather well on its own in VR. As you know, with VR3, we now have the new green laser beam that'll help us as far as interacting with stuff, and we also have mouse capability. Initially, I thought I would have to have the mouse active in order to use this, but that is not the case. I can actually do all that I need to do with my little green laser beam here. So we're going to be doing a full startup sequence here. Before we get to that, however, I do want to point out to you that this is a two-seater aircraft. So theoretically, it should also work with things like Smart Copilot, or if you're on Join FS doing multiplayer, if you want to have a buddy flying with you, as long as you have the exact same aircraft and it's configured the way that I described to you, you should be able to role-play basically a instructor-student relationship. I'm going to zoom back and show you the second cockpit here. So we'll just go over the dashboard here. There we go. This is the instructor seat. So it's pretty much identical to what's going on in the front cockpit. You know, everything is exactly where it should be. You can even open your back canopy here. So there you see. You got a pretty commanding view from the back. Looks pretty cool. And you can basically fly this aircraft from back here. The only downside to flying from back here is if you're in a student-teacher situation, there's probably a human in front of you that you'll have to like your head around to see the runway coming up to you or whatnot. But we're going to do all our flying from the front seat, so let me go ahead and close this back up. And we'll slide our way to the front. We'll get this aircraft started. The winds are coming out of the east. I think it's 100, so we're going to be taking off from runway 7, just like that FA-18 Hornet that just took off earlier. I've got a couple of those flying around, so we may see them again at some point in time. But let's get everything started here, and I'll take you for a little tour around Key West. You may have noticed we are at Key West Naval Air Station on Boca Chica Key. We're going to be visiting Key West International Airport and the island of Key West, because that's the other thing that I want to show you today. I purchased the Icarus Simulations Key West International Airport, and to my surprise, it came with the entire island of Key West modeled along with the airport, and it's absolutely amazing. I can't wait to show it to you. I got that from X Aviation's website. The links to all of this, by the way, will be below. X Aviation, incidentally, that's where you will also find SkyMax Pro and all other associated products. All right, let's go ahead and get everything started up here. So our battery is on. Let's get our generator on. Get our inverters on. And we're going to need to get some fuel to the mixture here. But before we get to that, let's turn on our nav lights. And we're probably going to want the fuel pump on in a second as well. Now, I will also tell you, you're going to notice something a little bit strange about this aircraft. You see where it says generator right there? The default aircraft, as you load it up, whenever any of these lights come on, the developer originally put an extra file in there, just a little extra texture file that was supposed to make the lights quote-unquote glow. It doesn't work that well. Instead, it looks more like a yellow blob or a green blob or whatever other color is supposed to be glowing at the time. You can get rid of those easily with any kind of Photoshop or Paint.net. In my case, that's what I use since it's freeware. All you have to do is open up those specific files that have the glow and turn them transparent and just save them. That's it. So the aircraft will still call for it when it comes time to draw the aircraft in the sim, but it won't have that annoying yellow blob. Trust me, you'll see it and you'll probably be asking me, how did you get rid of the yellow blob again? I will tell you, just send me like a private message here on YouTube or find me on Facebook at BelGeode 2015 and I'll walk you through the process. It's really easy, but it's definitely worth doing in order to get rid of that minor annoyance. All right, but let's continue our startup here. So we need our mixture to full. And we're also going to want the fuel pump on. There we go. Okay, and we're pretty much ready for engine start, so clear prop. There we go. We got smoke coming out of the exhaust. Got a good engine start. We are good to go. Now you'll notice that I have the prop pitch down as far as it'll go before this thing goes into reverse prop pitch. And the reason for that is this thing likes to taxi very, very quickly. So I kind of want to have the prop pitch down as low as I can get it, and I'll probably have to give some love taps on the brakes as we make our way over to runway 7. This thing does have auto ignition. I did not have to click it to turn it on. It just comes on automatically. It is right there. There's our main ignition switch, which also came on when I did the engine start. And you'll see those little green lights that indicate everything is up and running. Alright, in preparation for takeoff, let's get our trim. So let's see, we're going to trim up to about 8 units right there. And we'll also need to drop our flaps. Our flaps control is there, so we'll go flaps 1. Let's confirm. We've got 20 degrees flaps on that side, 20 degrees flaps on that side. Okay. We'll leave the canopy open so that we can feel the cool ocean breeze as we make our way to runway 7. Yes, this thing does like to taxi very quickly, so I'm going to be making a few love taps on the brakes here. I don't see any more Hornets coming in or going out, so we should be fine to get to the runway. Now this airport where we're at, this is Freddie Dupuy's airport. This is NAPS, N-A-P-S, November Alpha Papa Sierra. This is Key West Naval Air Station on Boca Chica Key. And you can see that he has updated this. It now has F-35s. We'll slow down here and take a quick look at them. So we got a squadron of F-35s there. We've also got our FA-18 Hornets. There's some heavies on the other side, and there's even a couple of helipads back that way. All the vegetation and everything comes with this airport. This is freeware, by the way. But I say that to make the point that it is very comparable to the payware airport that we're going to visit in a few minutes here. Alright, this is our hold short, so we'll go ahead and put the parking brakes on. Okay, and let's get everything ready for takeoff. Alright, first things first, landing lights. I've avoided putting on the landing lights because they're a pain in the butt. You see our landing gear lever right there. The landing lights are directly underneath them. So we've got to flip that switch and that switch. Now, the landing lights are also automatic. When you flip the gear handle up, as the gear comes up, the landing lights automatically turn themselves off. It does not work the other way around. So I'll have to make a conscious effort to remember to flip the landing lights on when we're about to land. Other things that we're going to want to do, let's get our strobe lights on, and let's get our pitot heat on. It's a little cool today. It's not cold, but it's a little cool. So we'll get the pitot heat on. And we're also going to need to close our canopy. There we go. All of that being done with the Oculus Touch. No need for the mouse or anything. And for an older aircraft, as this is for X-Plane, that is impressive. Alright, altimeter should be set. I believe our QNH today is 30.12. So yeah, we're good to go there. And the other thing that we're going to need to do is get our prop pitch up, but I will do that as soon as we get onto the runway and we've lined ourselves up. So quick check for traffic. No Hornets coming in from that side. No Hornets going out on that side. So we'll get the parking brakes off and we'll taxi into position. Okay, there we go, runway 7. Alright, right here should be good, so we'll get the parking brakes on. Beautiful. Little bit of overcast sky here, but I think we should be able to handle that just nicely. Alright, let's go ahead and get our prop pitch up. I'm using my Cytec controls for that. I'm not using the Oculus Touch. And listen to that throaty growl. That is so awesome. For such an older aircraft, that sounds so neat. I love it. I love it. Okay, so we've got full prop pitch. And we're pretty much set to go. Everything's looking good. So, you know what it's time for, folks? Brakes down, throttles up. We're probably going to need to correct to the right because there's a lot of torque. Brakes are off. And throttle to full. Airspeed's alive, 60 knots, 80 knots. We're going to rotate around 100 knots. There we go. We're up. Positive rate. Gear up. We'll just keep on runway heading here. Let's get our flaps up. Confirm. Right flap is up. Left flap is up. Very nice. You can see Boca Chica Tower with little flashing red lights on top, as well as the weather station. There's a guardhouse on the southern side of the airport there. And then we have the off-base housing. Or I think it's off-base or on-base. I'm not even sure. I think that might be considered off-base housing. All I know is a lot of the military folks live in this neighborhood. So yeah, if we continue heading this way, we'll eventually make it to mainland Florida. However, we are going to make a right-hand turn just past this neighborhood and head towards Key West. And then I will show you the majesty that is Key West with this scenery. I will remind you, I am using Ortho for XP as my baseline terrain textures. And this is, I think, zoom level 17 or 18. I know I set it for really high quality because of that. That, my friends, is why we use Ortho for XP. Look at how real that looks. Especially with the sun shimmering on the water and the different gradations of color in the water. That's just amazing. I love using Ortho for XP for this sort of thing. And the best part about it is it blends so seamlessly with the NAP's Boca Chica Naval Air Station, as well as the Icarus simulations Key West. It just looks flawless. You'll see it. We'll get over there in a second. Okay, so we've got a TCAS alert, so there's probably a Hornet somewhere close by. Keep an eye out for him. I have no joy, but let's see. We're at about 2,000. If he's in a landing pattern or even a takeoff pattern, then we should be fine right here. So we'll just kind of hold our altitude right here. And that'll ensure that we're out of the way of any FA-18s flying around. So there you go. That is how Freddie Dupuy's Key West Naval Air Station looks. And set upon top of the Ortho, it doesn't get much more realistic looking than that. Now, I did modify a lot of his parking spots because I've noticed that he tends to put his parking spots at hold shorts or taxi hold shorts. I kind of want to have my parking spots on the ramp, so I made specific spots for the Hornet to park, the F-35, which I also have, as well as the heavies whenever I feel like flying something a little bit larger. And of course, I put a helipad in there because, well, you have to have a helipad. But overall, by itself, it is an awesome little scenery. Now, fun fact, in almost all the simulators that I've ever used, I've always used Key West as my testing area. Whenever I get a new aircraft or something, I'll bring it down here to Key West and fly it about to make sure that I can figure everything out. I think I did that mostly with the military planes in FSX, but I started doing that again here in X-Plane because, number one, the performance in this area is great in VR. There's not a whole heck of a lot of terrain that needs to be drawn. The fact that I'm using ortho saves on memory as well, because it's just a flat picture, basically. And the weather really doesn't affect the experience that much. I know the clouds have been a big problem child for those of us using VR, but as long as I have like scattered clouds and so on, it looks really cool and it performs well enough without me having any judder. And that's the important thing. You want a flawless experience when it comes to you flying around in areas like this. But there down below you can see Key West. We're going to take a closer look. I'm going to make a left-hand turn and we'll bring ourselves down to the deck. Pull our power back. And we'll take a much closer look at the island. See, we've got some fishing vessels and some dive boats. Another fun fact, I used to scuba dive in this area back when I was in college, so yeah, I'm very familiar with that sight of the parade of boats going around. I might also add, these are 3D boats that they've put on top of the ortho so that they match up. Of course, the boats don't move, but because we're moving, it kind of looks like the boats are moving too. Kind of fools your eye there. It's pretty neat stuff. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll orbit around Key West in a left-hand bank here. Key West International Airport is right there. We're going to be stopping there in a moment as part of our little tour around the Keys. But for now, let's hit the deck and take a look from the outside at this beautiful island as we go through these groves of mangroves here. So let's swing out this way. We've got a lot of the residential areas of Key West. You'll notice that some parts of the water are a little bit darker than others. That's not an anomaly of the orthophoto. That's actually how it looks. What they do is they dredge out canals so that boats with deeper drafts can get through. And that's just a common thing down here, because you have to make sure you have enough boat channels and so on. This little area here, you'll see a bunch of sailboats parked on any given day, and they're just kind of chilling here. A lot of people from the mainland will bring their boats down and just kind of park it there. And I love the fact that they even got this side of Key West, the more abandoned, if you will, area of Key West. We're going to take a look at the marina and everything shortly, but let me get a little bit of airspeed and we'll see if we can pull off an Immelman here. It's a training plane, but we should be able to pull that off, so let's try it. We're over 200 now. There we go. We don't want to stall. Perfect. Do not keep this aircraft inverted for longer than 30 seconds. It does not like that. Just figured I'd do that community service for you there. Alright, let's pull the power back and we'll check out some of the more popular parts of Key West. So we've got the marinas here as well as a number of hotels. You'll notice the cruise liner parked there. And just before where the cruise liner's sitting is world famous Mallory Square. Mallory Square is famous because that's where most of the denizens of Key West and the tourists gather every single evening to watch the sunset. You can see our cruise liner there. And I believe that ship is a Coast Guard cutter that's actually a museum. But every now and then you will see some other Navy vessels around here. This is Fort Zachary Taylor Fortress. And we're just going to head over to the southern side of the island right now. You can see the Key West Lighthouse off in the distance, and across the street, Ernest Hemingway's home, which is also a museum. And we're coming up to one of the most recognizable landmarks in all of Key West. You see that little red thing with the stripes on it? That is the southernmost point in the United States. And that's exactly what it's called. It's called the Southernmost Point. Let's see if we can get a closer look. Hang a left here over the neighborhood. I hope they don't get upset with me. Which would be kind of out of character for Key West, because usually this is such a laid-back community. Seriously, it's unlike anywhere else in the United States. There's just a certain vibe to Key West that cannot be matched anywhere else. It's absolutely amazing. But all the same, we don't want to upset them too much, so we'll head back out to sea here. I just want to get another closer look at the southernmost point. Pull the power back here. Alright, there it is. The southernmost point in the United States, and that's pretty much exactly what it looks like. It sits on the street corner, and people go by and take pictures of themselves standing next to it. It's cool. I've done it myself. And I've been here many, many times to the Keys. It's one of my absolute favorite destinations. I'm long overdue for another trip, but I figured, hey, I can do it virtually for now. And I'm actually kind of glad that I did, because this is, in my opinion, the most realistic depiction of Key West. Of course, it helps that I've also got the Ortho for XP going, but between the combination of what Icarus Simulations has done and the Ortho for XP, this really does feel like I'm back in Key West flying around. Total awesomeness. You'll notice a little aircraft over there next to what appears to be a bunker. That's actually there in real life. That is really there. Here we got our parade of boats again. Okay, so we're gonna come down to Key West International Airport. So I'm going to turn left and we're gonna go downwind. We'll go out past the cruise ship and then we'll turn around and line up for final. Look at the traffic on the road there. I think that guy was tailgating. We got the apartment buildings, very distinctive shape to those apartment buildings. I forget the name of the apartment buildings, but just the fact that this developer went to great lengths to model exactly what those buildings look like. They could have just done the airport and call it done, but no, they put all the extra time into that. And of course all the hand-placed trees over by the canal. That's the kind of stuff I look for when I look for a scenery to fly around in. As far as payware goes, this is well worth every single penny that I paid for it. Highly, highly recommended. If you're planning on flying into the Keys, yeah, you're gonna want to get this. I could probably tell you most of the streets that we're looking at here, it's that realistic. I can even tell you where the supermarket is. It's right over there in that plaza. It's a Publix supermarket. Anybody who's familiar with the South, in particular Florida, you probably recognize the name Publix. And we've got Duval Street coming up, famous for its bars and restaurants. If you ever go to the Florida Keys, in particular Key West, you are going to want to stop off at Duval Street. Spend an evening, spend a night there. You will not be disappointed. It is the heart, if you will, of Key West. And there's a little bed and breakfast place, a kind of a vintage bed and breakfast place called the Merlin Inn. Be sure to stay there as well. It's a hop, skip, and jump from Duval Street. It is in the perfect position for you to see everything you ever wanted to see on this 3-mile-long island called Key West. Alright, but we are at the back of the cruise ship, so we're going to turn to final here. I'm going to drop our power. What's our altitude? About 500 feet, so we should be already on glide slope. And our speed is down low enough for me to get the gear. We'll also get our flaps down 1 notch. Okay, flaps are down 1 notch. We're ballooning up a little bit, but we should be exactly on glide slope. I can zoom in and verify that. Yep, we're actually a little bit low, but that's okay. I'm going to hold the nose up a bit. And we want to come in at about 100 knots. We'll start slowly but surely inching the power back, which will, of course, get us on a nice glide slope. Alright, but let's go ahead and bring ourselves in. My plan is to go all the way to the end. We'll taxi through the airport area, and then we'll come back this way, take off, and head back to Boca Chica. Here's a closer look at that bird in the bunker. Alrighty, folks, strap yourselves in. We're bringing her down. Let's see if I can get her on the center line here. That's good enough for government work. Alright, flare and power off. Main wheels down, nose wheel down, good to GO. Now you'll remember at the beginning I said this thing likes to taxi very fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it all the way to the opposite end of the runway 27 end of the runway. And then we'll get the prop pitch gradually back down and we'll taxi through the airport, and I'll show you some of the sights here. Looks like the wind died down a little bit, probably about 7-knot wind, easterly wind. Yeah, we're going to turn off right where that weather station is. Alright, so let's go ahead and bring the prop pitch down. Now you'll also remember my saying about the landing lights. I forgot to turn the landing lights back on when we put the gear out. So I will rectify that momentarily here. Let me just bring our prop pitch down further. There we go. That's as much as we can get, so we'll go ahead and kick the brakes on. Alright, we're going to want to get off the runway, but let me get our landing lights back on. Okay. Brakes off. We'll taxi off the runway and take a look at the airport. Okay, so welcome to Key West International Airport. And as the name might state, this is an airport that often will see international flights, oftentimes coming in from the Caribbean or Mexico, but I'm sure from other areas as well. The largest aircraft type that I've ever seen at this airport is a 737. I want to say it's either Delta or Southwest, probably both, that have flights come in. But normally, this is what you'll see, are your CRJs and your ERJs and so on and so forth. Because, of course, this airport is just big enough for them. But yes, you can, believe it or not, get a 737 down here. FedEx also has a major presence, as well as the Coast Guard. You'll notice there's a little Coast Guard, what is that, a Beach King? No, I think that's actually probably a Baron. Or it could be a King Air, I don't know. I'm not up on my beaches. Not those type of beaches anyway. Since this is a point of entry into the United States, you've got the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. They've got a pretty sizable presence here. And we're going to stop off at the terminal really quick. And I'll show you where the passengers would go. So yeah, right here you'll notice the aircraft outline. This is big enough for a 737. This is our parking spot right here. Try not to spook this guy. I don't think he saw us coming in. So there you go, folks. Welcome to the Conch Republic. Welcome to Key West. I love the fact that their icon is the southernmost point. That's just perfect. And they call this place the Conch Republic. Like I said, Key West has its own mindset, and it's vastly different from anywhere else in the U.S. They're so laid back. They've actually had referendums to secede from the Union. Not that I think they would actually ever do it, but it's just kind of cool to know that, you know, they think of themselves in that way, so laid back that, you know, they're a different part of the U.S. There is no other place in the United States like Key West. And I'll kind of put it in perspective for you. You know how you have Mardi Gras in New Orleans, usually around February, thereabouts. Well, here in Key West, in October, close to Halloween, they have what's known as Fantasy Fest, which is kind of like Mardi Gras, except amped up a notch. And you didn't hear it from me, but there's a lot more naked folks for Fantasy Fest. You might say I've had experience with Fantasy Fest before. But it's totally an awesome place to be. You know, everybody's all friendly and caring and all of that. And look at that. There's a... It's like one of those little cones knocked over. It's pretty cool. But yeah, that's just the vibe that you get when you come to Key West. It's a whole different world down here. And that is a very, very good thing. But I'm extremely impressed at how this airport was modeled. It really does look like the real thing. There's no other way to describe it. Right down to Cessna Row over there. That's what I call it. I don't know if there's a specific name for it, but I've always ever called it Cessna Row because every time I've come down here, there's always a row of Cessna 152s or 172s lined up all the way down the taxiway. We'll take a look at them as we make our way back to Runway 9 in preparation to go back to Boca Chica. Matter of fact, we'll look from the outside. So yeah, there it is, Cessna Row. And I'm like taxiing all over the place here. I need to keep that in check. But yeah, they're not kidding. Every single day, this airport is like that. Filled to the brim with Cessnas. Alright, but we are at Runway 9. So let me go ahead and hit the brakes again. I'm curious to know if the real aircraft actually does taxi this fast. That's kind of crazy. Alright, but right here is good. Okay, let me make sure we have everything up. The strobe is still on. Our landing lights, I turned those on when we had landed. Everything else is pretty much set. We still have our trim. We just need to get the RPM back up, which I will do when we get onto the runway. Let's just do a quick check for traffic. I don't see anything coming in. I don't see anything going out. Drop flaps 1. Probably don't even need to. It's warm enough out today. And let's get that parking brake off. Alright, and let's do something a little bit different this time around. We're going to take off, but this time from the outside view. Which should be challenging for me because I won't be able to see any of my gauges. Alright, but here we go. We're going brakes down and throttles up. I had to do it. Yeah, you know me. It had to be done. Alright, but that was Key West, and you can see the eastern side of the island where the fuel and oil drums and everything are. That's another area that they dredged out so those bigger boats can get in, or bigger ships, as it were. And we are going to do a left-handed, or actually, you know what? No, we'll do a right-handed brake over Boca Chica, and then we'll come in to land. Alright, so let's get on runway heading here. But yeah, as you can see, everything meshes together so well with the Ortho for XP. It all just looks fantastic. Look at that hangar down there. That's all part of Freddie Dupuis's freeware scenery. He's done a number of these for various parts of Florida. I would highly recommend you get every single one. I also picked up Pensacola. I'll be showing you that one a little bit later on. But yeah, I'm just in love with this Naval Air Station. This is one of my favorite Naval Air Stations. And the funny part about it, folks, I've never actually been on base in real life. But I feel like I know so much about this place because I've been here all the time, virtually. Alright, so Boca Chica Tower. I guess this is, what is our number here? 626 Echo. Requesting brake. And we're going to brake right past this weather station. Okay, so we have flaps down 1, and we've got our gear down. We're probably going to need to get those landing lights on again, so I need to fumble around for my Oculus Touch controller. And I'm so glad that we've got this green laser beam here. It makes interacting with things so much better. Alright, we're a bit of a nose-high attitude here, but at least we've got the power. I'm going to drop our power, actually, and bring us down. I'm going to put one more notch of flaps in. There we go. We've got full flaps. And actually, that seems a little too full, so let me pull it back up one notch. Yeah, we should be fine with that. I don't think we really need to have full flaps to come in. It's such a long runway anyway. We should be just fine with that. We are a little high up though, so let me gently bring us around through this channel here. We'll also drop our altitude. You'll notice a couple of yachts there. Those also come with this NAP's scenery. There's helipads on the back of each of those yachts. You can land on those helipads. So if you, like myself, are a helicopter aficionado and you've got the SH-3 or the Dreamfoil Creations helicopters, or even the Bell 412, the X-Trident one, you can land it on the back of those ships. Alright, but we're on glide slope, so we're going to go ahead and bring her in. I'm not seeing any traffic, no Hornet traffic coming in or going out, so we're good to go. Okay, just about close to stall speed, but we are down. Awesomeness. One final thing that I want to add about this aircraft, you get two versions with this aircraft. There's the regular version, which I'm flying, and then there's another version that's called the Lucas. It's kind of spelled funny, but the Lucas version is different because your throttle actually contains reverse pitch position. So you tend to fly it a little bit different than you would this. Whereas right now I've got the throttle completely to idle. If I were in a Lucas version, I would be above the idle detent in order to get it to proper idle. If you pull it any further back, you will be going backwards. It is possible to do that in this aircraft, but you have to pull the prop pitch all the way back. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and get the brakes now that we're down. And we'll get our prop pitch down so that we can taxi to our final parking spot. So there you go, folks. I know we weren't really going anywhere, but I really wanted to show you the payware and the freeware scenery here for Key West and how well that all meshes together. The scenery that we just saw for Key West International Airport really isn't all that expensive either, but it's well worth it. If you love, you know, these kind of tropical islands like I do, then yeah, you're gonna absolutely enjoy that. Alright, let's get our strobe light off. Probably should have turned off the fuel pump sooner, but never hurts to have it on. Pitot heat, we're good with you for now, so we'll turn you off. And everything else is pretty much set. Alright, so let's taxi to our parking spot. See, we've got a C-17 there. I still have yet to purchase the Vertavia C-17. I've heard some issues with it as well, but I'm sure I can probably figure those out. So at some point in time, I might purchase that and fly that around. Got some E-2C Hawkeyes and P-3 Orions. This is where the Hurricane Hunters live, so they will often fly out from here to go take a look at the various hurricanes coming in. This used to be the home of the Tomcat Squadron VF-101, otherwise known as the Grim Reapers. They used to be based here. Also, VF-111, the Sundowners, also used to be based here. I believe nowadays, I want to say it's the Gladiators, VFA-106, that have their F-18 Hornets here. Or FA-18 Hornets, I should say. I'm pretty sure that VF-111 is here as well, but as a training squadron. I want to say that they do dissimilar air combat training, which means that they get to fly as aggressors. But they're no longer flying Tomcats. If I'm not too mistaken, they're flying F-5Es. I could be wrong on that, but that was the last time that I heard any information about them. Okay, here is our turnoff. So we're going to give it some more love taps on the brakes here. Okay, right here is where we want. And we're just going to pull up next to the Hornet. we'll call this episode done. You know what? That's good enough for government work as far as I'm concerned. Alright, let me get the flaps up. I should have done that before, as soon as we got off the runway. But I forgot. Oh well. Alright, but we're here. We are back at Boca Chica, Key West Naval Air Station. So just to remind you what you've been seeing, Key West Naval Air Station is by Naps, Freddie Dupuis' project. And that is freeware available on his website. The link is below. The Key West International, as well as the island of Key West, is by Icarus Simulations, which is available on the X Aviation site, which is the same place that you would get SkyMax Pro. And this nifty T-34C Mentor, you can find that on the regular xplane.org page, the store page. It is payware, but just remember to do the steps that I outlined at the beginning of this video in order to get this aircraft to work properly for you in X-Plane 11. But once you do, I'm sure you, like myself, will have a blast flying this thing around. It's such an awesome plane. Alright, but with that having been said, let's go ahead and power down. And we'll open up our canopy, and we'll go ahead and turn everything off. So that will just about do it for me today, folks. Thank you, as always, for watching. This has been BelGeode. I have been flying around in X-Plane 11.20 VR3. I will remind you, probably by the time you see this video, we should have VR4 available, so I'll be showing that off later. But until such time, if you've enjoyed what you've seen in this episode, please feel free to give me a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. And I will be back with some more aircraft goodness in the near future. Alrighty, folks, that's it for me. Ciao!